So because Gears 5 left on a completely unfinished note, why are we getting Gears of War E-Day? Gears of War is arguably the second face of Xbox, and they haven't had a new game in almost 5 years now. So why didn't they reveal Gears 6 at the recent Xbox showcase? Because at first when I saw this, I was hit with a lot of emotions, being reunited with some of my favorite heroes. But then concerning questions started to seep in.
It's not Gears 6. That's a conversation in itself.
So after having some time to think about it, reading the Xbox Wire from the Coalition, the people that are developing the game, and talking with some Gears of War fans that you'll see at the end of this, I wanted to try to discuss with you why I'm not only okay with Gears of War E-Day happening instead of Gears 6, but why I'm kind of in love with the idea. And I admit, this could totally bite them in the butt hard if it does not succeed. But a quick shout out to Juan. Thank you so much for encouraging this video. That's literally how these discussions happen. So if you're a gamer with someone to talk about, then boop it in the comments and subscribe to Speculate Express Connect. But today, we got to talk about this Gears of War E potential, because there is so, like the first thing is the story potential. Emergence Day in Gears of War lore is probably the most, I don't even want to say probably, it is the most significant day in the history that is Severia. I think it's Sarah, but just the planet. You know, this planet's history, it is absolute apocalypse. Like, some fun facts. I went down this rabbit hole of things that, like, are important to know about Emergence Day. For instance, did you know that 25% of the planet died on that day? 25%. And this, I'm not talking about like a Thanos snap that, you know, they just eroded away. No, they were slaughtered. Monsters that literally came out of the ground like every children's nightmare of the boogeyman, but it's just monsters all over the planet that slaughtered billions of people in 24 hours. But keep it a bit more personal, I won't be specific, but if you've played Gears of War 2 and 3, you know what I'm talking about. But as you can see in the trailer, we got Dominic. Dominic Santiago is back, aka one of our brothers. And not only is that very emotional as hell to see just that face again, hell I did, but in terms of story, Dom's probably going to be experiencing something really bad in this game. I can't remember, maybe lore fans will let me know, but basically Dom has a significant loss in his family on this day, and if we get a glimpse of that, that is going to really hit the feels. And the other thing that's going to be great story-wise in this is that, like, we kind of are going to be able to see Marcus and Dom, our two OG main characters, really form their bond. Because another fun fact I learned is that they met when they were 11 years old, making Gears 3 a lot more emotional here. But they weren't exactly like best buds like we know them at that time. It was more so in this event and beyond, because Marcus was best friends with Dominic's brother, Carlos, who died in recent wars, like the Pendulum Wars or whatever. So they're both getting over a mutual brother of theirs, Marcus's best friend and Dom's brother. They're both getting over a loss together in this. And that is going to be, I'm a big fan of grief, if you don't know. Like, grief's a terrible thing, but in terms of storytelling, I think grief is a great theme to explore. And these two are going to have to do that in a world that is about to have the most grief in the history of just ever. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool to see not only a friendship blossom, but I would argue the most significant bromance in the history of gaming. And that's a lot of pressure. Like, that is a lot of pressure to do. But a big point a lot of folks might bring up against Gears of War E-Day, like, even though they agree, yeah, there's a lot of great story potential, what are you doing about the future? You know, like if you were taking a step back in time, this isn't really going to feel like Gears of War 6. Well, the developers had some comments on that. And keep in mind, the Coalition last year, they suffered a huge blow, if you didn't know. Like, they lost a lot of their staff from the Microsoft layoffs. Rod Ferguson, who was the studio head and one of the OG Gears of War guys from way back in the day that was taking this team up, he moved over to the Diablo team. So the Coalition, it was kind of like left in a weird place last year, including apparently like canceling 2 of their projects. And who knows, maybe one of those 2 projects was Gear 6, because they did say in this Xbox Wire that they don't want to abandon Gear 6. They don't want to abandon Kate's storyline. I'm going to have a comment about that in a moment. But it sounds like they wanted to do this. Like, if they had to choose between the 3 products they had in development, this is the one that they really wanted to do and like use all the remaining resources to focus on. And it could be very well for the story reasons I said that many fans are going to love to see adapted. But there was an interesting thing that they said in this, which was like they're treating this as the next new Gears of War entry, but it's going to feel really different. And that is something that I didn't really think about until reading this Wire, is that like, this is a time that COGS, all they did was fight each other. Humanity was just fighting each other. And this is a Gears game that we're not going to just be shooting monsters that we're well versed with, that ever since the first game, that's what we've done. You know, from Gears 1 to Gears 5, we have always known our enemy. Gears 4 and 5 are kind of discovering a new one, but you know what I mean? Like, we are versed in fighting these things, but this is a game that they have never seen anything like this. This is literally an entire different race. They didn't have the Lancers. We're going to learn and, like, I guess, get the origin story of the Lancers in this game. That's also in the Wire. And that might even lead to like a different feel of the scenarios. Maybe the emergence holes kind of function slightly differently, or you'll come across a lot of different tones with like civilians in trouble because of, you know, the event that's happening. Even in the trailer, you see Marcus like fighting for his life because they were just very ill prepared for this. This is a race that's much more physically stronger than the Sarens or humans are. So that could just lead to a really different feeling game overall. But they're not abandoning Kate's story. So says they in the Wire, you know. They're saying, like, we still want to address that future and not forget about it. And I do worry about how long it'll take to see that future. But I admit, Gears 5 was kind of steering the franchise in this much more blockbuster tone, which Gears of War has always had, in my opinion at least. It's always had that blockbuster tone. But there's something that this game really, because of its story, is going to allow that I think Gears 6 wouldn't really do. And that's a true return to form. That is something that the Coalition and Xbox are probably really eager about, and fans too. This is a story that can really harken back to those days of brotherhood, brutality, and horror. And the devs are fully aware of this. Many fans have identified with the Gears of War franchise in the beginning with those 3 themes: brotherhood, brutality, and horror. And we can go back to that being this place of absolute desperation and survival and close quarter campaign levels, not the open world shenanigans. It looks like Dom and Marcus are going to be in a city, you know, so I would imagine this is a much more structured campaign. It's going to be running on Unreal 5, so you know it's going to look damn good. And you're really going to see humanity potentially the most desperate it has ever been. We are literally going to, it's like you look up these reaction, you know, videos to trailers and whatnot, because you get to see the moment that happened versus the talking about it after. Like, feel free to check out my reaction to it, but I'm still talking. Don't leave yet. It's just a plot line that there's not going to be some, let's dive into my lineage like Kate, you know. Kate in Gears 5 was kind of all about, I need to learn the truth about who I am and maybe learn more about the Swarm along the path. And this isn't going to be that. It's just the classic Gears of War 1 situation. Even Gears of War 2, I would imagine, where it's just, let's just get through this together. But this is going to be the most horrific situation to do that, even being inside of a giant worm. And you know what I have to say about that?
I'm in love with the idea. And I'm going to like put a bookmark on why, but I'm just curious like how you guys are feeling about it not being Gears 6, but instead being Gears E-Day. How about Rob?
I'm going to let Kelvin go first because I got
got
some ammo on this one. Yeah.
I got some ammo on this one.
I like that. So